the social media side. So there we go. We should be live on X and YouTube and apparently LinkedIn and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So good to see everybody. I am back at my house. I've been gone for about a week and it feels good to be back. So yeah. All right. Yeah. Good to see you guys. Brighter side, Andrew. Yeah. Andrew, talk about more buying the dips. We got more of that coming in, don't we? And yeah, thank you, 10 by 10. Eric, good to see you guys. Uni, awesome, fantastic, and Nomo FOMO. So, welcome to September. This seems to be the tactic that the market likes to do this year, where it will just hold into the end of the month or to the end of the quarter, and then once the calendar rotates over, then that's when they'll let everything go. It feels very mechanical as far as what's going on because you think about the hedge funds and institutions and kind of big players, they care about the calendar because that's when their books close, and they have to show performance or they have to show this or that or something to that extent. And yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. So just a little bit of that on Friday when the market finally lets some air out, and then today we're getting that follow through to the downside beginning with September. Yeah, so there's that. Now, as far as the overall thing, the market's been sideways. This is what I've been talking about. And if we look at the internals, this is what I covered in my, let's get this maximized. Come on, think or swim. You can do it. There we go. And this is what I covered in my weekend video. So if we just kind of zoom out, and let me actually put some more time on this. Let's see if we can get 90 days out of this thing. There you go. And what we can see is that we've just the internal order flow has just really been pretty nominal. Like just not much going on. I mean, look how sideways all of this order flow has been for basically the month of August. And that makes sense. The month of August has been mostly sideways. We've had some up days, we've had a couple down days, things like that. But then you scroll over even just a little bit and then look at the difference. Just look at the difference and how the order flow, the internal order flow is moving. And we're getting none of that. And so it just seems that the market finally decided to take a little bit of a breather. Let me minimize this, get back to where, let me try it one more time. And there we go. And so, yeah, the market just seemed to say, hey, we've had a huge few months coming up off of the tariff tantrum lows. We've made new all-time highs, everything's up, and we just need to take a break. And that's kind of what it feels like, is we were mostly going sideways. Then we had Jerome Powell kind of talking about rate cuts, or like starting to at least change the conversation about rate cuts. So the market's like, all right, let's go. And we got that last little pop and surge. The IWM, the RSP, they really shot up quite a bit. But we really didn't get that much in the way of follow through to the upside. And that's really what I've been talking about, is, are we going to get follow through? And the only thing I was kind of looking for, or that we've been looking at, is that, the market's really been largely sideways. And with the passage of time, before we've kind of been holding 21. Well, now we're definitely below the 21. This kind of reminds me of what I was talking about with ARKK, I think. Yeah, that we can see here that even though ARK, the ARKK fund, came down to the same location through August, you can see that the last time it came down, it actually came into the daily 50. And this is really what time kind of looks like. The fact that the market hasn't gone anywhere, and yet more time has gone by. And we go from the first dip not even being close to the daily 50, the second dip being exactly on the daily 50, and the third dip now being below the daily 50. And all of this is only because of time, because price actually hasn't changed. Isn't that kind of interesting? Well, Andrew, I think, all the kids going back to school, that depends. My wife is a school nurse. This is her third year. She was a labor and delivery nurse for 11 years. And so up here we start early, somewhat early, because I'm from Arizona. Arizona doesn't start until, I guess now-ish, or, a few more weeks, something like that. Because, the summers are different, between Washington and Arizona. Actually, I guess that's the other way around. In Arizona, we get out in May, and so we start sooner in August, whereas here they get out in June, and so they start in September. And so my wife says that the kids don't actually start coming in until this Thursday this week. So yeah, I think it kind of depends on where you're from and where you're looking at. But yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. And if we look here with the ARKK, once again, Moxie indicator just didn't get over zero. I was kind of looking at this double bottoming through here and this positive divergence, and I said, well, let's see if that actually works. Let's see if this market really wants to go higher, if it can hold the daily 50. But then you can see as of Friday, and again, one day makes a difference. As of Friday, you can see that the Moxie indicator went red. Then you can see that price then broke back below the hourly 50, which then confirms that this was yet again another inverse trampoline move. So I was looking for this. I wanted to see if this thing was actually going to hold to the upside. It did not. And this is now proof and evidence that it's not holding to the upside. All right. Yeah, Andrew, September is historically your worst trading month. Well, that would make sense because the market is probably not going to be giving us too much to work with. Yeah, and then brighter side, VIX low, lookout below. That's another thing that we've been kind of talking about. Now, as far as this goes, I didn't, even what I covered in the weekend video, I didn't see a whole lot that I could really work with from the VIX or the UVIX. I said, if this is going to go, then this is where it's going to go from. Because you can see here, we've basically got our level, we have our positive divergence, and we did get price back up over the hourly 50. I didn't know if today was going to be a huge drop or anything like that. It's kind of hard to determine, coming after a 3-day weekend. But there we go. Nice big move to the upside. So at this point, I think we're going to have to just kind of hunker down and strap in and see where this thing wants to go. Is this going to keep popping from here, or are we going to get a little bit of a fade before kind of the next move? That's kind of what I'm looking at and wondering about all this. And if we look at the UVIX, again, this wasn't giving too much of a clue. There wasn't much of a setup. And I covered this in the weekend video. The only thing I could see was right here where price was starting to get over the 15-minute 50. But we're only having our first move over the hourly 50. So even to the UVIX, this is not that bad, or at least this is the beginning of a kind of a move. So if there is going to be some more weakness, great, that could happen, but it's not there yet because this is only the first move over the 50. There's no follow through yet. And that's the kind of the thing that we're going to have to be looking for, is to see that if this eventually comes back into support and then it goes up, okay, then there's going to be a little bit more. Okay, now that's if this is going to be bad, or if there's going to be more downside follow through, or there's going to be a plunge or something like that, which of course there could always be. But there could also be, if we come back to the SPX, let's just kind of talk about some ideas and where this might go. It could also be that maybe we don't really get too much downside, and in fact, it just kind of chops around for a little bit for the month. We've kind of seen that with ARKK so far. The market's come down 3 times. It's been at the same price each time. FNGU, the FANG stocks have been largely sideways. And so we really just have to figure out, well, what does the market want to do as far as working off its overbought condition or trending sideways and flagging of some sort? What does it want to do to find support? And that's kind of our question. You guys will probably see in my X account that I posted either today, tomorrow, that I was talking about that the S&P has not even tested its daily 50 yet. And, I think we're probably going to do that at some point. I don't know exactly when, but you can see we are now getting, once again, price has been at the same level. Price hasn't really moved, but as time continues to go on, the moving averages continue to come up and up and up with it. And so at some point, the S&P is going to touch its daily 50. So we'll have to see what that kind of looks like. And if we kind of zoom out a little bit here, this is another thing that I've been talking to you guys about, specifically this weekly chart. If you just look, I have been looking for and waiting for and wanting the SPX to get below its weekly 8 and touch its weekly 21. Now, it's taken all sorts of detours in order to do this. So it's been a little bit challenging. I've definitely tried shorting the market once. We were right, and then the market bounced a lot. And then the next time I was like, okay, kind of happened quickly. Let's not do anything about it. And actually the market went up again. And now it's kind of like the third time that the market's coming down. And so, yes, there could be something here. I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper with the Moxie crew when I get there. To actually talk about some positions and like what to do about this if we do get a little bit lower. I do, as I said, I see a series of events. Those of you who've been with me for a while kind of understand the first move, second move type stuff, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. But we'll see about that. And I want to see if we can actually start to get back below the weekly 8. And then the question is, how close to the weekly 21 are we going to get? And if we look at some of the other examples, that's the ARKK. And for those of you on the social media, on the interwebs, I hope everybody's kind of figured it out. Yeah, okay, there are very, very few eyeballs out there. I think people probably didn't quite get the message that I have switched from Wednesdays to Tuesdays as far as the social media stuff. And the reason I switched is because I'm going to be now in the mastering the trade room in Simpler on Wednesdays. So I had basically 3 time slots all happening at the same time. I was like, that can't happen. So we needed to move something. So we moved the social media situation. But yeah, if you look at ARKK, I think we tried shorting it back here, and you can see here it perfectly bounced at the weekly 8. And then it came up again. And I'm like, all right, what's this thing going to do? And you can see now we are now back below the weekly 8. And that kind of opens the door to, does this thing chop around and go sideways like this and allow the moving averages to come up to it? Or do we actually see price start to come down to the moving averages before we start to go back up? Generally, it's kind of the same story I've been talking about for, well, I guess it's about 6 weeks now, it feels like. Because I guess if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. We've been talking about, okay, is the ARKK going to get below the weekly 8 and get to the weekly 21? Maybe we finally start to see something like that. But it's been 6 weeks that we've basically been talking about this thing and being like, when is this thing going to come down and when is it going to get lower? And again, maybe I don't want to put too much emphasis on this since it's been 6 weeks without this thing actually getting that much lower. But I do think we need to be prepared that, maybe we start getting a little bit more move to the downside. It doesn't have to be a lot. Could be sideways, could be chop. It's just kind of hard to say. And then if we look at the SMH, which is the semiconductors, SMH, we could same kind of deal. I mean, look at that thing. How long have we been talking about this thing up here and be like, are we ever going to get below the weekly 8? And it looks like we are going to. Now, this is a weekly chart. This is the first day of the first week of the new month. And so it's going to be a little hard to say much. That could easily turn into a wick. So yeah, I don't want to say too much, but we are looking like we're going to get below the weekly 8. And let's see what we can do about how close we want to get down to the weekly 21. Now, if you guys want to have some examples of this, again, anybody who's out there on X and YouTube and whatever, look at coin. Here you go. Here's an example of what we're starting to see. I want to see tickers coming down to their weekly 21s. Generally. And if they can kind of come down and hang in this area, that's okay. Or we can look at BKSY. Let's try that. Try it again. Come on, BKSY. And you can see here also coming down into their weekly 21s. And a lot of this, if you guys kind of look at the behavior of stocks leading up to today, because today's September, okay. The market didn't just start this all today. What I've been looking at is underneath the surface, we have been seeing a lot of stocks come down, and we can look at a lot of stocks that were coming down ahead of September. And then finally, they got the mega caps that finally came down too. And so I'm kind of looking for September to help. I really would like to see if September puts a bottom in for the market. We'll have to figure out when that is, let the market come down, let the bottom fall out, and then hopefully that can, spike things, and then maybe we'll start to turn back up, mid to late September. We'll see if that happens. And then I look at things like BKSY or Coin and, a few other tickers that we can look at. And I want to say that they've already done their pullbacks, and now they're just kind of sitting and waiting. And that's okay, because the longer these things just chill out, the better base that they build, and the better that the buying opportunity will be on the way up. And so that's why, I think I'll probably need to get out of 1 or 2 of our small positions today. But for the most part, I'm kind of happy with how things are handling today. We actually saw quite a few things buy the dip today. And so I'm okay with that. Okay. Let's see what else. Oh, I did want to remind you guys, anybody on social media. Let's see. I think I have. Yeah, my. Let's see. Let me save this real quick because I want you guys to see this. Okay, because this Thursday is going to be the third and final installment of the kind of the mini series classes that I've been working on. The last two classes were how to pick the right stock and how to pick good stocks, and then also was like leverage ETFs and Moxie patterns and all that kind of stuff. We were trying to show you, some of the basic Moxie patterns that I teach, and then we use those and show you how leverage ETFs do the same thing and how to take advantage of them. So there's that. But yeah, this Thursday, third and final class. If you guys want to, be sure you come in here again, social media people, because anybody else in here in the Moxie room, I assume you're here, so you'll get this. It's going to be included in the Moxie room, not necessarily the indicator. If you guys buy the indicator in the class, that's different. This is if you're in the Moxie trading room. And it's going to be Thursday. It's going to be 30 minutes after the market close, which is, I should have it up here. There you go. 3:30 p.m. Central. Okay. All right. Well, since I got that out of the way, I'm going to be hanging up with you guys on the social medias. Again, I see only a few eyeballs here, so I think we need to work on the messaging to make sure everybody who's used to me coming out on Wednesdays gets the message for Tuesdays. So we will work on that. But let me hang up with you guys here, and I'll pop over to